Welcome to ACC Label's video demonstration of MesurACC. MesurACC is a typographical ruler designed by ACC Label to measure accurately type sizes, rule sizes, and spacing. Food labeling regulations prescribe specific type sizes and points for the nutrition facts table, rule sizes and spacing for the nutrition facts table, and type sizes in millimeters or in fractions of an inch for the product name, the net quantity statement, and various other label elements. This image displays the graphic and technical requirements of the standard unilingual nutrition facts table format, Model 1.1. The lines on the left side of the MesurACC may be used to measure rule sizes, leading spaces, and indents. For example, the standard nutrition facts table has 3 different rule sizes: 1-point rule, 0.5-point rule, and 2-point rule. The lines on the left-hand side of the MesurACC may also be used to measure leading spaces, indents, and prescribed spacing. Leading space is the spacing from the base of one line to the base of the previous line. The Food and Drug Regulations specify different leading spaces for different parts of the nutrition facts table. More specifically, the leading space for the serving size declaration must be 10 points. For the subheadings, which are the amount and percent daily values, must be 12 points. The calories and nutrients must be 12 points, except for trans fat, which must be 9 points. And for the first vitamin or mineral nutrient below protein, which is usually vitamin A and which should be 14 points. The left part of the MesurACC may also be used to measure the indents and spacing prescribed for the nutrition facts table in the Food and Drug Regulations. The indents for the saturated and trans fats, fiber, and sugar must be 6 points. For the spacing, the text enclosed in the nutrition facts table must be at 3 points away from the box. Also, there should be 5 points between the 2 columns at the bottom of the unilingual table, as shown here. The regulations specify type size requirements for the nutrition facts table in terms of points. The middle part of the MesurACC may be used to verify the prescribed type sizes in points. Here are examples of type size requirements for the standard nutrition facts table Model 1.1 unilingual or Model 3.1 bilingual. Heading in bold type of 13 points. Calories, serving size, and nutrients in 8-point type. Subheadings, amount and percent daily value in 6-point bold type. The most common Canadian bilingual standard nutrition facts table format, Model 3.1 from the Food and Drug Regulations, is displayed in the lower left corner of the MesurACC. It can be used to rapidly verify the typographical requirements of this nutrition facts table format. The color of the nutrition facts table on the MesurACC was specifically chosen to contrast well with the nutrition facts tables printed on labels in black over a white background. The serving size is shown on two lines to illustrate positioning when the serving size is too long to fit on a single line, and the nutrition facts table may be somewhat wider. Nevertheless, MesurACC allows you to rapidly verify whether the printed nutrition facts table meets all the type size, rule size, and spacing requirements prescribed under the Food and Drug Regulations. Whereas the regulations express the type size requirements for the nutrition facts table in point sizes, the prescribed type size requirements for other label elements are generally expressed in millimeters or fractions of an inch. The Canadian and USA type size requirements for the net quantity declaration on food labels are conveniently shown in the lower right-hand corner of the MesurACC tool. To determine the type size requirement applicable to your packaging, you must first measure the packaging, not the label but the packaging, and determine the surface area of the principal display surface, for example, the front or top of the container, as the case may be. Then use the type size chart in the lower right-hand corner of the MesurACC to determine the type size applicable to your packaging's principal display surface in the appropriate column, Canada or USA. Suppose your packaging is a box and the principal display surface is in the front of the box and its surface area is 168 squared centimeters or 26 squared inches. This means that the required type height for the net quantity declaration for the box is at least 3.2 millimeters or 1/8 of an inch for a product sold in Canada and 4.8 millimeters or 3/16 of an inch for a product sold in USA. Now you can use the upper right section of the MesurACC to verify the type height of the characters of the net quantity statement on the label to make sure it meets the prescribed type height. The most common type height are features of the MesurACC. Let's use Enjoy Life's cookie box as an example. To determine the type size requirement for the packaging, you must determine the area of the principal display surface. In this case, the principal display surface is the front of the box. This box measures 10.45 centimeters by 18.5 centimeters, or 193.3 squared centimeters, or in US measures 4.11 inches by 7.28 inches, or 29.9 squared inches. Then you can verify the minimum type size requirement for the net quantity declaration using the type size chart in the lower right-hand corner of the MesurACC. The type may be higher, but not shorter, than the prescribed minimum. This company chose to use on its Canadian label the same type size for the net quantity as required in USA. Then you can verify the type size on the label using the type size section on the upper right-hand side of the MesurACC. Note that the type size requirement is based on the surface area of the principal display panel of the package, not the label. Note that the type size requirement for the net quantity statement generally applies to the height of the numbers. However, there are exceptions. For example, the Canadian Fresh Fruit and Vegetable Regulations require that the letters, in this case G and LB, and the numerical quantities be of the prescribed height based on the height of the lowercase letter O, as in ounce, for example. Here is how to use MesurACC to verify the type size of the net quantity. It can also be used to measure type size of the company name and address, which must generally appear in characters of at least 1.6 millimeters or 1/16 of an inch in height, based on the height of the lowercase letter O. While the measure of type sizes in millimeters can be convenient, the fact is that we all work on computers that provide type sizes in points. To overcome this issue, MesurACC shows the most common type sizes equivalents from points to millimeters and inches for both uppercase and lowercase letters in Helvetica font. Therefore, if you need a label element to measure 6.4 millimeters, for example, you could use Helvetica font in 33 points, or 25 points if the statement is shown entirely in uppercase letters. While type size measurement is an important aspect of labeling, Other aspects must also be addressed. When you need advice regarding Canadian food labeling requirements, MesurACC offers the coordinates of a trustworthy reference, ACC Label Inc., expert advisors in food labeling, regulatory nutrition, and translation. MesurACC is now available for sale on ACC Label's website. To order, click on the Buy Now button at the bottom of the MesurACC page.